Yeah, you can start now.
Okay. So hello everyone. So I'm Professor, and I'll be introducing you all into OOP. Basically, today we're discussing what OOP is, why use OOP, and some different rules and terms in OOP. So first thing first, what is OOP? So OOP stands for Object-Oriented Programming. And lately, you have been writing procedural programming, usually about writing procedures or functions that perform operations on data. But um, object-oriented programming is only about creating objects which contains data and functions. So object-oriented programming has several advantages over procedural programming. One, it is faster and easier to execute. Um, That means it runs faster and it looks very clean. And also, object-oriented programming has a clear structure for programs. Also, OOP helps to keep PHP code dry. Whenever I say dry, it means don't repeat yourself. And it makes code easier to maintain, modify, and debug. So most times I'll be saying OOP, and sometimes I'll be saying object-oriented programming. They are still the same thing, but I think I'll just do OOP for now so that we can just get used to the term. Also, OOP makes it possible to create reusable application with less code and shorter development time. Now, I just have this tip for you that you don't repeat yourself principle. It's all about reducing the repetition of code. You should just extract out the code that are common for your application and place them in a simple place and we use them instead of repeating it. That means, let's say you have a code returning hello world. You don't need to copy that same code again to return that same hello world. You just need to call the method with that function hello world, and you just keep doing the same without you actually writing that same code again. You just returning the particular code. So, uh, like you might have a question like, what are classes and objects? So classes and objects are two main aspects of object-oriented programming. So looking at this illustration, you see the difference between classes and objects. So we can say a class is a fruit, an object of that particular class fruit are apple, banana, mango, pawpaw, carrot, etc. We also have, let's say, another class called car. We got Volvo, Hyundai, Toyota, Tesla, or any other car brand, And let's say you're talking about programming languages, you can have PHP, Go, JavaScript, Python, etc. So the fruit is a class, and why the objects are apple, banana, mango, etc. So a class is like a template for object, and an object is an instance of a class. Let me say this again. A class is a template for objects, and an object is an instance of a class. So when an individual object is created, they inherit all the properties and behaviors from that class. So let's use, for example, um, an object called fruit, and a class called fruit and an object called apple. So since apple is inheriting from the class called fruit, what are the things that apple is getting from it? It's edible, grows on trees, do some fruit grows on trees, can is like gets so many properties from them, though they vary, but you get like they have properties and behavior that they share. So let's go to the next stage where we talk a bit more about classes and objects. So, I'll briefly explain more on how we write a class. Then I'll come to this constructor. So let's just go into and play with a little bit of OOP. So So right here, I'm not using my local development. I'm just using the website called PHP Sandbox. I just use it for like my testing and writing of different things. So let's say I want to write a class called fruit. I will just say class fruit. Now, there are some laws in OOP we obey. We always use singular, so you can't say class fruits. Very wrong to do that. Just say use singular. And some people do this, like they write lowercase f. We don't. It's not really advisable. You need to start with uppercase. Hello. Am I sounding now? Can anyone hear me?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Is it better now?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Thank you. So it's better just use uppercase fruit. So uppercase fruit. So it has to be the F has to be uppercase. So this is just me defining a class, and it like a class is defined by using the class keyword followed by the name of a class with a pair of curly braces. So these are curly braces. This is where we write out properties, method, constants, and other things concerning that particular class. So let's just play around with some properties. So let's say I want to write a property for this particular fruit. The fruit must have a name. The fruit also have a color. And let's say we have a method called I know this that I'm writing looks funny. This public. I'm going to explain all of them. So we have this two. Sorry. So this is what we call a method, and these are called properties. These are called methods. So you can see this as equal to this one name is equals to variable. So that is for setting name. And you can now just do another method called set color. That is the color is color is equals to dollars and color. This is just a little example of a class. Sorry. So these are properties for that particular class, and these are the method in that class. Yeah. So let's go on to the next thing, which is okay. So, okay, before I go into that, so how do we define the object? Because if you remember here, I said objects are apple, banana, and mango. So how do we define an object? So let's go. So I can say variable, let's say variable mango, then is another fruit, is equals to new fruit. So since I want to set the name of apple mango so that I can get it, I can just say variable mango is equals to, sorry, is since it's already an object of that class, I'll just do this set name and say mango. So mango. Now, from if you notice, I've set the name for this particular object already, but there's no way for me to get what I've set already because I'm not returning it. So let's say I can create another function called get name. name. Let me use this syntax here so that this will not look confusing here. Yeah. So get name. So this will just return this. So then echo apple. So I like apples too much. Get name. So let me run this, and hopefully I should see mango. Yeah. So you can see Marvin mango here. So let's just try another fruit. Let's see apple, since I'm calling this fruit too much. New fruit. See apple. Let's name apple. So I want to get picture of them. I can just do this. Just need this to make the code to be readable. So apple, let's name. Let's see what we get. So we are meant to get mango and apple. Yeah. So we have mango and apple. So yeah, so that's working with objects in the class. Makes it easy for us to kind of get the value. So you might be asking, what's the meaning of this particular word we take? So the this keyword refers to the current object and it's only available inside the method. That means this is an object because it's associated from this class called fruits, and this keyword is getting what we have from the properties section. That's all about this keyword, and it can also be used inside the class, referring to the method declared when generating the class, and outside the class can just get it by directly getting the property value. Yeah. So let's go to the next one, which is constructor. Yeah. So what's a constructor? A constructor allows you to initialize an object property upon creation of the object. If you create a constructor function, PHP automatically calls this function when you create an object for that class. If you notice, the constructor function has two underscores. So let's just go through how the constructor works. So if you notice from my previous example, I did this whenever, as I'm getting the name of the class, I created this method called setName getName. And for me to do that, I have to always do this. So let's say I do want to, let me clean this up. Let's say I don't want to actually do this set name, I just want to do get name. So that's where a constructor comes in place. I can just say public function underscore constructor is so I want us to just try something first and see what will happen. So let me just say get name. Yeah. Okay, sorry. So we are going to get an error. Yeah. Uncalled argument, too many arguments to the function for constructor, 0 passed, expected 1. So what does this mean is that the constructor is like when we are creating the class for the first time, the class wants to actually pass a value through this, like the construction function runs before any other method or function runs in the class. Is the first thing that runs. So this particular class actually wants us to give it the value. So let's give it the value of mango and let's run. And yeah, we have mango. So that's how basically how the constructor function works. You can actually pass more than one data to it. So let's say I can pass color 2 and I can see this color is equals to color. So if I try this again, I'll still get an error saying I only pass one argument instead of passing two. So I can say mango 0. So let's just see. Let's pick another method that we can call out this sentence. Sorry. So let's run this. I got got the let me see for side. Let me just do this instead. Or I can just do this. Instead of getting, I'll just get it to and run. So I got this, I got a yellow mango. So if I change it from yellow to green, so that same thing happens. So this is all about using the constructor. And like I said, the constructor allows you to initialize an object property upon creation of that object. So that means before the object is created, it is the first thing that runs first in the stack tree for PHP, and also in many other languages when you have constructor, it runs first. So like you suspected, if you have a constructor, you must also have a destructor. So a destructor is just the inverse of constructor. It is called when the object is destroyed or the script is stopped or executed, and it's called with double underscore. So let's just see an example. If I do this, so basically, so if I do this, so let's do this, this, so let's just call the public function destruct. Destruct, just see echo code. So let's run. So you can see immediately I return this function called, let me make this pretty. And if you notice, I'm not echoing any of that thing, I'm just echoing out get details. Immediately echo out get details, I got a mango. The next thing return is the fruit is mango. Like immediately I run this, the next thing, this only thing I'm echoing out, but the destructor function is running because it's being called when the object is destroyed or the script is stopped. So that's what the destructor is. Now the next thing we're going to look at is called access modifiers. So what are access modifiers? And these are properties or objects. Properties of objects can have access modifiers which control where they can be accessed. Now this is one other big C of OOP and why we use it. And we always use access modifiers in every time in OOP because it's very, very important. So we have three access modifiers. We have public, protected, and private. So like the name, like it sounds public. So public, the property or method can be accessed from everywhere. This is default. That means I'll show an example of how this is achievable. Protected, the property of the method can be accessed within the class and by the classes derived from that class. I go again. Protected, the property of the method can be accessed within the class and by classes derived from that class. While private, the property of the method can only be accessed within the class. So let me show you an example of how this happens. So let's have a clean slate. So this time let's use a class called car. So a car must have a name. Let's make this protected. And let's call this brand. Let's make this from private. Let's see. Yeah. Let's see. The Tesla is supposed to. I can see Tesla. 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 Brand. Oh, so same brand. Let's see model. Yeah, model is better. Let's see model. Let's call this Tesla Cybertruck. And the last one is the year Tesla Cybertruck. I think that was 2020. Yeah. So let's run this and see what happened. Yeah. So from what you can see, factor error cannot access detected property car model in 11. That's the first error because this is a protected class. So if I turn this to public, it will go up and go to the next one, which is private. This another error will pop up here. Running that, I'll see an error in line 12. Yeah, uncaught access, private property. So this object can really access these two properties here, this protected and private, because they are only scoped for that class only, not for the object. So some of you might be asking, how can I go about getting the value of a protected or a private property? So you can do something like this: protected, say public function set model this equals to variable model. So let me just do the set model, and this will work. Let me do the other one. Let's yeah. Yeah, that is this yeah, because so variable. So this will be set. Yeah, let's see. Won't get any error. But I think I made a mistake somewhere. Line 10. Oh, sorry, semicolon. Yeah, now we don't have any error again because I've actually set the values for these two properties via these two methods because these two methods have access to these properties, but I can't get access to these properties outside the class. So you can also make some functions. You can also make some functions um, public, protected, and you can also make them private. So let's come with another that's called let's call this phone. You can say public function, public, public, public color. So I can call this, I can see public function. Let's see. Remember, we're not using this again. I'm just coming this out. So I can see this name is equals to the name. Another is so let me make this protected function. This color. So the last one, I want to make it private. So private function sets here. See with this also variable. So now let me try accessing this from outside so I can see variable. This is Samsung equals to new and Google Mango. Mango Samsung equals to let's name Samsung. So if I run this, I won't have any error. So now the next code I'll write will actually give me an error because I'm trying to get a protected function set color. Let's put, sorry. Now this will throw me an error. Yeah. Error call to protected method from the global scope. So because I'm trying to access a protected function, and I'll also get the same error if I try accessing a private property. So just again to recap, um, public modifiers the property or the method can be accessed from everywhere, from the object that instantiated them, from the class that inherited them. We'll talk about inheritance later. Then we have protected. Protected property or method can be accessed within the class and by classes derived from that class. And the last one is private. This property or method can only be accessed within the class. Any questions before I continue? No questions. So let me continue. Now, the next one we have on our bucket list is inheritance. So what is inheritance? Inheritance OOP is when a class derives from another class. That is, the child class will inherit all the public um, protected properties and methods from the parent class. In addition, it can have its own properties and method. An inherited class is defined using the extend keyword. So let's look at one. Again, starting from a clean slate. We for another type of class, we will say laptop. Let me just have like the templates I'm using every time. Because typing this all about this is going to be difficult. So let me just have a template. Let me just, so I won't bother myself every time typing afresh. Just have templates. So yeah. So this is a class called fruits. Okay. I think this well. Yeah, so this class fruit has two properties, name and color. Then it has a constructor function, name and color. Then it has this function called intro, which is saying the fruit is and the color is. So since you're talking about inheritance, we're going to now create this we're going to create another class called Apple. Now I'm bringing a new keyword called extend fruit. So now this is a new keyword. So let me just add another method called message. Then you should just echo fruit. Just asking a question. Let's call this. So the next thing is to now instantiate it. So you can see Apple because we new Apple. Then below the name of the fruit is Apple because we're asking for the name this class is inheriting from. Because if we try running this without doing this, we get an error. So let's try it. Yeah, too many fee agreements. Fruits constructor 0 pass online 24. explicit parameters. So we need to pass the parameters here because you're extending. If we're not doing this, won't actually won't get an error. So see no error. But because you're extending the fruit class, you actually need to provide two inputs to it. So the first one is apple and the second one is red. So let's just do this. Apple. And if you notice, I want to call a function that I don't have here, which is intro. And let's see what will happen. Let's see. So you see, the fruit is apple and the color is red. And if you notice, I don't have any function called intro. It's only in this class called fruit. So with this extend keyword, I'm able to get all attributes, all properties and methods from the class fruit. So I can still get this my other function called question. So let's see apple question. Let's see how it goes. There's an error shown here. 25. Oh, yeah. So I also get this too. But a disclaimer is this fruit will not be able to get this question function unless he extends it. But because the apple is extending it, it's inheriting all the public and protected properties and methods from the parent class into itself. So because the apple is extending the fruit, the apple class is a child class, and while the fruit class is a parent class. Parent class. So in the previous class, we learned that the protected properties and method can be accessed within the class and the class derived from that class. So let's see what that means. I'm going to copy a code here. So copying and just type it out. And just type it out. So let me create another function. Instead of me typing it, let me just make this protected. Let me just make it protected and run it. Color protected method intro. Yeah. So I see that that's an error because it's a protected function. If I try making it private too, I'll still get that same error. So you always need to leave if you're getting an very for another class, just ensure all methods you're going to call out are actually public. Just need to ensure that they are public. So so let's say you're wondering how can I get, if I make this protected, how can I actually get it from this class here? So I can just do this dash. So let me remove this. And let's see what we have. Unexpected, oh sorry. This. Yeah, you can see we have the fruit is apple. So now this just go back to what we said here, which says that I just need to go back to explain this particular clause here, that the protected the property or method can be accessed within the class and classes derived from that class. So this is possible because it's a protected value. If I make this private, you get an error. This can only work for when it's protected. And can also work when it's public. But this is the only way you can get the value of the protected function or the protected method or data inside the other class. This is the only way you can get them. So another thing we need to look into is called class constants. So what are constants or class constants in PHP? So constants cannot change once it's declared. The constant is useful if you need to define some constant data within a class. So a class constant is declared with the constant keyword, and class constants are case sensitive. However, it's recommended to name constant in all uppercase letters so that it's also visible to another developer that is actually a constant, it doesn't change. And also we can access constant outside the class using the class name followed by a scope resolution operator, that is two column followed by the constant name. So let me show you an example. So let's say we have this class. Let's give it a class called goodbye. Make it constant. Now, for constant, we don't use variable, we use constant and all in uppercase. So we don't need constant like this. We don't need constant like this. These are the need to name them in all uppercase. And I want to echo this out. Let's echo. Let's see. We get our thank you for coming. So you can also access constant inside the class itself that created them. So let's just say we have another function here, function called public function message. Just going to say echo so since I'm doing I just say to the good prime. So prime is equals to prime. So it's very good to not name things together so let's just get message. Yeah, I think it's better. Message. Let's run it. We get thank you for coming. Let me just change this a little bit. Or let me see. Let me see this method gets a name. Oh, wrong, sorry. Name. So let's run this. So you see this. So we use the self keyword whenever we are trying to access a constant from inside the class. That's when we use the self keyword. So let's go to another one called abstract classes. I'm just trying to touch a little bit on all of look at real life scenario of using this. So abstract classes are methods when the parent class has a main method, but its child classes fill out the task. So an abstract class is a class that contains at least one abstract method. An abstract method is a method that is declared, but it's not implemented within the code. And they're always described with the abstract keywords. So let me show you an example. So lately I've been writing things like this. So let's write an abstract class. So use the word abstract. Use the abstract keyword class tutor. So from here we can now have other abstract function. So let's say this are getting the abstract or getting home and then oh, if you notice abstract function are kind of different from the other abstract method are kind of different from the other one I've written because they are declared and not implemented, but implemented from the classes that inherit them. So when a class inherited from an abstract class, we have the following rules. The child class must define with the same name and we declare the parent abstract method. And the child method must be defined with the same or a less restricted access modifier, which means, so let's say the class was declared with protected. It's better you use private, it's better you use public. But if it is declared with private, it's better you use protected or public. But let's say you declared with public, it's better you use public and not don't use anything that is restricted, just using that is less restricted than the former modifier. And the number of required arguments must be the same. Must be the same. So let me just get an example and please so that we all can see how this works. I'll just paste this code and explain the code. So yeah. So now we have an abstract class called car. And as the car is getting like those as constructors too, and it's having a abstract um an abstract function called intro. So I just need to remove this. Yeah. So you have an abstract called intro. So now if you note now, this already extends this abstract class. So you're having this public function intro return this. Then you have another one, a public function intro, return this. And we have another public function intro. So let's say I make this, I do something like this. We're going to get an error. So class section contains one abstract method must therefore be declared abstract or implement the remaining method. So, like, we need to actually go with the word intro, or else we have this error. Yeah. So that is that on abstract class. So just a quick recap. So if you notice, the Audi, the Vivo, and the Citroen classes are inherited from the car class, which means they have to use the public name property as well as the public constructor method from the class because of the inheritance. But intro is an abstract. This intro is an abstract method that should be defined in all child classes. They, and they should return a string. And there are so many more examples on abstract classes. So the next one we have to look into is called interfaces. So interfaces allow you to specify what method the class should implement. An interface makes it easy to use a variety of different classes in the same way. So when more or more classes uses the same interface, it is referred to as polymorphism. So that's when one or more classes uses the same interface. So interface are declared with the interface keyword. Now let me show you an example of an interface. So this is an example of an interface. This is an interface name, public function. This is an example of interface. And if you notice, only the class carries the word interface, something like interface method, interface, like the way we have for abstract. So we have the abstract class and abstract method, but it's different for interface. So now you might be thinking, what is the difference between um, interfaces and abstract class? So interfaces are similar to abstract classes, no doubt, but the difference between them are interface cannot have properties, while abstract classes can. So you can't see properties in interfaces. All interface method must be public. You can have um, private interface method. For abstract class, you can have public protected, but interfaces must be public or public and protected. All methods in interface are abstract, so they cannot be implemented in the code, and they cannot be implemented in the code, and the abstract keyword is not necessary. And the last one, classes can implement an interface while inheriting from another class at the same time. So that is the beauty of using interfaces. You can use various interfaces and while still inheriting from a class. So if we want to implement an interface, we use the implement keyword. Now, I've given you two keywords. For classes, you use extend, but for interfaces, you use implement. So a class that implements an interface will implement all of the interface method. So let me just grab an example and show it to you. So now we have an interface called animal, and animal makes sound. So we have a class of cards that implements the animal interface. And if you see, you have to ensure you write the same function, which is public function, echo meow. So let me add another one. So let's say class dog, um, dog implements animal public. Sorry. Echo see instead of just change it to dog and run it, then we have back for dog. So that is how we use interfaces. So most times, in most cases, in most code bases, interfaces are used more, but you only get to use interfaces when you know you're not going to use any property. But if you know you're going to use a property, it's best to use abstract classes. First, you use abstract classes. So now let's look at another PHP OOP called trait. So what are traits? So and why do we have traits? So PHP only supports single inheritance. That means a class can only inherit from one single parent. So a class cannot inherit from multiple classes. So if we want a class to inherit multiple behaviors, trait actually solves this problem. So a trait can be used to declare methods that can be used in multiple classes. Trait can have methods and abstract methods and can be used in multiple classes, and the method can have any modifiers, private, public, or protected. Trait are declared with the traits keyword. And also, to use a trait, you have to use the use keyword. So then let's get an example of a trait and how a trait is being used. So now we have this trait called trait message. And this trait message is being used by this welcome. So let's run this and see what we have. And we get OOP is fun. So majorly we use traits when we have a class that we have a class, and that class is already extended on that class. And generally that we can only extend only we can only inherit from one parent, and we need another class. It's best to just use a trait for it. And you can actually use multiple traits for one particular class. So let's say I can create another trait here, and then we call this so I like using uppercase. Sorry. So let's say I create another trait called message 2. Then have a public function called message 2 message, and this will say echo to this form. So since I want to use this again, I'll just from here I'll just add message 2. Then I'll just do this. So I want to just reduce the number of code I'm writing. I'm just copying and pasting. So turn this to a new welcome. Let's turn this to a new welcome. Let's say message 2. So you can see the skill America is fun. So the next thing we have is talking about static methods. And so static methods can be called directly without creating an instance of that class first. So you can basically just call a static method without calling the class. Like if you notice, basically we are doing this new keyword. So let's say you want to use a new keyword, you just basically call it first. So let me just paste this here. So we have this public class name, static method, hello world. So for me to get this value, I just say class name, static method. Run this and I'll get hello world. So to access a static method, we use the class name, double colon, and the colon name. And the static method must have this static keyword. You must have this static keyword. A class can have both static and a static method, and a static method can be accessed with the self keyword. So you can also use a static method inside the class. So something like this. So we have this class called greeting, and inside this class we have this static method called welcome. Let's do this. Let's say I call it welcome. So let's just run this and see. Hello world. Let's say the word. Yeah, I'll see something change. Now, you might be asking what is going on here. So we have this static method called welcome and second hello v2. And the constructor function, we are returning this particular function. And the reason I'm using self is because we're trying to access a static method in it. So static method can also call methods from in other classes. And if you want to do this, you just need to ensure that static method is public. It's also always good to make it public. And if you want to, it's also good to make it public. So aside from static method, we also have static properties. These are properties that can be called directly without creating an instance of a class. So same thing, like, so an example is, can have this written, let's say public static, let's see, um, and this is season, let's see, morning. So how can we access this? Can you see creating season? Define constants. Why I'm getting this. Yeah, sorry, I missed the variable. So we have morning. So this is where we access static properties. So this is the last thing we'll talk about, which are namespaces. So namespaces are used to solve the problems. They allow for better organization and grouping of classes that work together to perform a task. And they also allow the same name to be used for more than one class. So let's say, for example, you may have a set of classes that describe an HTML table, such as table, row, cell. And you also have another set of classes that describe a furniture, such as table, chair, and bed. So namespaces can be used to organize the classes into two different groups while also preventing the two classes, table and table, from being messed up. So namespace actually save us a lot of trouble and making us to have very plain code. So this is an example of a namespace. This is an example of namespace. This is a namespace here. And it's always good to have a namespace starting the code. So this is an example of namespace. It helps keep the code clean and cause less crashes in different code base. That is all I have for now. This is just a brief intro to OOP. The next time we'll be talking how we can use this idea we have in OOP in creating MVC. So we'll talk about in MVC, we'll talk about things like model, emission model, view, and controller. We'll talk more on that in the next class. Thank you very much. It's nice to be here. So any question you have, you can just forward them in the PHP track group. We will answer them on any question you have concerning OOP, and they will all be answered ASAP. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Professor. That was a very, very interesting class.
Thank you.
Yes, Milo said he joined a little late, but this was very helpful. Thank you, Milo.
The call is still recording.
Yes, if there are questions that anyone wants to ask, you can ask in the Slack PHP backend Slack channel, or feel free, if you don't want to ask in the channel, you feel free to you're free to message, DM any of the instructors, any of the PHP tutors. You can message Professor, you can message myself, or you can message Paul Rapulu. Okay, thank you so much. Let me stop recording now.